China, the current global pandemic, right? It started in China in, let's say, November, December, right? And
November.
yes, according to the official records, they climaxed at about 80,000 recorded cases,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
basically it's basically plateaued there and it's slowly declining. And they were able to achieve that within 11 weeks. And currently, the West is actually struggling. If you compare the numbers in US compared to what China even had, you can't even compare. It's like comparing a mountain to a hill. And
Sure.
it goes to say that, and it's not the same with China. You realize that a lot of these Asian countries, you look at Singapore, Japan, South Korea, it's like they have some secret weapon that they're using to just combat the thing within the shortest possible time. And other, the US is literally struggling. I mean, the number of cases in the US right now is over 600,000. And comparing
Yeah,
600,000 to 80,000 in China, and now globally the numbers crossed 2 million just yesterday. So what's
2 million.
and I know that China probably using some advanced technology in combating this, and I know you've been in China for some time. Can you tell us about China and how they, the systems they have in place, and basically how they use technology in combating the virus?
So, first of all, I should say that this whole pandemic and everything that's going on with it, for me, I see it as just war. Okay, that's the very first point I'm making. The reason is this: look, China basically had gone through the same scenario for like 4 or 5 times. It's not new to China. Okay. Now the very first thing I learned when I went to China was that Alibaba became Alibaba when SARS was discovered. Okay, and so you'd realize that that company basically had to learn how to leverage on technology when they had SARS. Now there's been a lot of other swine flu, H1N1 coming in and all that, and so this is a very not new phenomenon to them, and so they're sort of easier to combat it in terms of the technologies that it surrounds. If you look at the numbers, you'd realize that it's Hubei that basically had the numbers. But if you look at a place which is so saturated, a lot of serious, what do you call it, transactions going on and everything, Shanghai, Hangzhou, these are reporting numbers way below 500. And
Yeah.
that's serious because, like, we're talking about 1.3 billion people, and just about 500 people are just contracting within a place like, let's say, New York in China. And that's crazy. So I think the very first thing that triggers to me is that there are lots of technologies that's used. The communism in China basically leverages on the what do you call it, the social score of people. So what the government of Ghana is trying to do is already what China has already been doing for years. They've actually gathered the whole data of citizenry. They know where you are. They know what you're doing. They know your bank account. They know what transactions you're doing. They know your travel history. They sort of know everything on technology. Okay, and these are just everyday life for a normal Chinese. And so doing contact tracing sort of in China wouldn't take like 30 minutes for a person who's contracted COVID, because then they already have the tools. They know who you're talking to, who you're meeting, where you've been to in a day. And I think that's one of the things which is helping them to combat this virus, because then they're using technology, quite a lot of technology. In terms of things as to um, we in Africa basically are just using cash every time. But then in the Chinese economy, they don't use anything at all, whether checks, no cash, no credit card, nothing. All we just do is QR code, QR code, QR code. And so if I'm in the US and I'm transacting a business, I'm using my credit card. It's a mode of transmission. In China, I don't use a credit card. I use my Alipay or my WeChat Pay. I do the transaction. I just send the money to you instantly. You get the money and you go. So there's just a lot of technology that surrounds them as Chinese that leverages on them being able to avoid a lot of contact. The general Chinese wouldn't greet you every day. They will basically just do a bow for you. So that culture had already been incorporated into their system. So
Yeah.
this, I think, that relatively is what they have been building, and that's the effect of pushing a lot of technology into the system, and that's where we, the tech boys, have to start thinking about. So I'm not looking at just some app that the government just threw in just because we had a conflict of a disease coming in, but what's the bigger picture? How is the data that's being collected by NIA going to be used? How is it going to ensure social scoring? How is it going to ensure that people are paying their taxes and all that? So there's a bigger picture, I think, that we here should be coming together to look at, because that's what China had gone through excessively well to do, because they are not just looking at data that is just collected at a period. They are looking at data that is collected at a whole.